Okay.
Tori and Liz, welcome to the Make Life Rich movement. Thank you so much for coming on.
Hi.
Hello.
Thanks
We're
for
so
having
happy to be
us.
here.
So excited.
I love that you both simultaneously answered almost the same exact thing. That's like how I feel about the two of you anyway, which is so fitting for this conversation. Guys, we're in for a treat. It's been a while since I've had a duo on, but this duo is one that I am quite fond of and am very thankful to have gotten to know over the last few months. Together, they have co-founded the Co-Collective Networking for Women in Cape May County, New Jersey. It's an amazing network event company that has truly transformed, I think, a lot of business owners and the business climate in Cape May County, which is a difficult thing to do because we are founded for the last few hundred years as an entrepreneurial heavy place to do business. And these ladies have gone above and beyond in bringing, I think, such a beautiful vitality and a ton of resources to a place that really needed that oomph and that projection forward into 2025. So, ladies, thank you for everything that you've done. I do want to also mention that they each individually have their own businesses, multiple businesses. Tori is also the founder of Daily Evolution Business Coaching, as well as Brava Events. And Liz is the founder of Plan and Prosper Consulting. So you guys also have children, dogs, husbands, lives, hobbies. It's like, when do you sleep?
No dogs for me, just chickens.
Chickens are a lot
It's
though.
enough.
Yeah.
Escape
You guys
artist
are
chickens.
very busy. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's so impressive, everything you've been able to put together. I think let's just start with how the two of you met, and then we'll
Oh gosh.
backtrack from there.
We're going way back.
Way
Yeah,
back.
we've known each other
Preschool.
since preschool. Been friends forever, I would say.
I love that.
Yeah.
And then you kind of kept in contact over. Wait, did you guys grow up in Cape May County?
We
Yes.
did. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, I
So
missed
we
that
went
fact. Super
to
fun.
we went to preschool together.
Mhm. Wait, what
Kindergarten
preschool?
too, because I think Avalon and Stone Harbor
In Avalon.
were together. Yeah. So, and then Liz eventually went to Middle Township, but we were in Girl Scouts throughout the whole time too.
Her
So
mom was the troop leader.
yeah, and your mom was heavily involved too.
Yes.
And then throughout high school, we were friends
We always
in
did
church.
everything together through church too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then throughout high school, we were friends too.
And
stayed
college
in touch. Yeah.
after.
Mm-hmm.
My God.
We lived together for a little while.
We did leave. We lived together in Avalon. Like in the off season, we had a house. That was fun.
That was fun. Me, her, my ex-husband before we got married. It was interesting.
It was
nice.
It
Those
was
were the years.
It was, but it was fun. Like
yes, it was.
We had no business being in such a large house with just the three of us.
Yeah, in the dead of winter in Avalon.
Yeah. But it was
love
fun.
that.
Yeah.
So literally a lifetime friendship that you've built upon. It makes so much sense then that you would create a company together that helps bring people together, and doing so in a way that's been just really different for where we're from. To kind of set the tone for everyone that doesn't know what Cape May County is or what it's like. We're the very southern tip of New Jersey. We're adjacent to the Atlantic Ocean and Delaware, and it's a really special place that has been an active place for you to visit the beach and frequent hotels and restaurants since the 1600s when it was a whaling island. And it's been a place where you're not going to find very many big box stores or any kind of like large conglomerates coming in and taking over. It's primarily business owners that live here locally, and things have been done the same. I'm going to venture since at least the 70s, maybe the 80s, with like the only addition really being like an electric cashier option for most of the businesses down here. And I mean, no shade. It's really been, I think, one of those situations where if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And we find ourselves entering the portion of, I guess, life where it's time to catch up, and it's time to catch up quickly. And it's been really amazing to see the impact that your events have had, not only on the county as a whole, but individually with the business owners that have found a place to be able to really shine their business and still rely on what they're doing online, but adding that component of in-person events, in-person networking,
Mm-hmm.
being able to showcase your experience as a speaker, being a co-host, and, you know, allowing everyone to come and visit your space. You guys have just done such a beautiful job of giving many different platforms to a pretty wide array of business owners in different types of industries down here. And I guess my question for you is, where did this whole, I guess, first initial event idea come from that later led to the business that you now have together?
Tori was the driving factor in it. I had just quit my job in like, what was it, May of 2023, and started Plan and Prosper. And so I was going to like networking events with the Chamber of Commerce, and which are all great. They're great organizations. But it was kind of hard to get like your foot in, especially like I've been doing business in Wildwood for 20 years. So like I'm known for that one thing, working for that one family. And it was it was hard to kind of break out of that mold. And I know like Cape May County is small, but like doing business in Wildwood versus like doing business in Cape May, it's like you're on two separate planets. So I talking to Tori about it, and she's like, that's why we need to start That's why we need to start it.
I
And
planted the seed before you even quit. And I was like, we just need to do this and like get out and meet people, because you fall out of your networking group changes a little bit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you're kind of forced into these other businessy type events, right? With chamber, maybe some older people. There's, listen, nothing wrong with that. Lots to learn from, you know, people who have paved the way before you. But I think for both of us, just getting back into the community and peers, finding peers who are going through similar things, that was, you know, I think we're both Virgos. We actually have the same birthday, a year apart.
Wait, what's your birthday?
September 11th.
My husband's a Virgo. I live for you too. That makes so much sense.
So we have like the perfectionist tendencies, and like was like, well, we should, you know, we should go to a couple of networking events just to see how it's done. And I was like, no, we need to do it. Yeah. So then when it was finally like the point where like, oh crap, well, we need to like go out and start meeting people, like Liz finally went out on her own. She's like, okay, yeah, no, I'm ready.
We need to do this.
Yeah, right.
So we just did it. I don't know. You reached out to Robin.
Robin Scara with Mud Hen. You know, we had just kind of connected on Instagram and stuff. And like going back, she went to Wildwood Catholic, and like we didn't realize how deep like the back connections went, like through mutual friends and stuff like that. And she's such a, you know, just a rah person. For anybody who's like motivated to do something, she is like, yes, I want to help you accomplish this. And she was really like kind of that linchpin for getting us our first like big break and opportunity to get into a place when we really didn't have anything to show for it. Like we had what, 60 followers maybe on Instagram or something like that, maybe less. And we were just so thankful for people being able to like, for putting themselves out there and taking a chance on, you know, a hope and a dream, pretty much.
And from that first event, I want to say like since then, it's been amazing. Like the people that we've met, not just on a business level, but a personal level, because it really has expanded, like for me personally, my circle because like I've lived in Cape May County, like I went away for college, but I came back. And so I've been working with the same network of people for 20 years. I have the same friends that I've had my whole life, which is wonderful to have lifelong friends. But sometimes it's nice to like step out of that circle. And this was really just such a wonderful, I've met so many great people that like I count as my friends now. And it's been really wonderful. I'm excited to see where else it goes.
I'm the only part of the circle that's followed you around. Just kidding. No, and I agree. Like for me, I've been out of, and we don't want, our hope is to eventually grow this beyond Cape May County, right? Like I'm in Atlantic County. So we've had some people come from here down to our events and stuff like that. So We do want it to grow, but I've been out of the Cape May County scene for the most part for a while, working in Philly for several years, and then living in Atlantic County for the past 12. I'm not down there that often. So, but my parents still live down there. We go and visit and stuff like that. So it was, I have my friends that I grew up with that are down there, but to grow into to move into the business aspect of like business owners down there or professionals who are similar to our age, like it's just, I haven't ventured into that like 12 years. So I'm like thankful for meeting new people, and we're reigniting friendships that, we had in high school and stuff like that. So it's cool to see where everyone's at in life. Like, what are you doing? And, I think that's Sarah, you kind of spoke to it, that certain things have been done in these like family owned businesses and stuff for years and years. And now it's the new generation and they want to do things differently, but you're still competing with those people who are like dug into their work, and they're like, I'm not going to leave this company, or I'm not going to leave this position. And there's really kind of, I don't want to say like a power struggle, but there's a clear line between the new generation wanting to come in and refresh things and the old generation like hanging on for dear life.
Oh yeah, you're telling no lies there, sister. I think one of the biggest things I can remember from my teenage years were all of us commiserating amongst each other's like stories of working at night, like 10 p.m. when we're all done, like the retail we worked at or the restaurant we worked at closed. And we're all just like, they'll retire one day and we're going to take over. Like it's just been the adage for so long. And the time has finally come.
Yeah. And Liz and I actually worked together at an Italian restaurant in Stone Harbor too.
Yeah.
Which I just briefly forgot about.
Marabella's or Italian Garden?
No. Trader Joe's.
Yeah.
I worked at Italian Garden. I was a counter girl, probably while you guys were down the street.
Yeah,
so
probably. I forgot about Italian
I worked there from like 14 like through college.
Yeah.
I started folding pizza.
It was the same summer job.
Yep. I started folding pizza boxes there. It was for like, I think it was for like confirmation. We had to do like community service, and that was my community service. And then we both started like takeout, and then we're servers and stuff. And it was, oh my gosh.
It creates a really solid foundation. It does.
Yeah.
I think there's something to be said about a lot of the business owners and entrepreneurs down here in our age group, because we were on the tail end of those that had 3 or 4 jobs in one summer at a time to just hustle and enjoy life. And it wasn't like we had such freedom back then. Life was so much different. And
oh my God,
we learned so much during that time about how to work hard, make money. We were kind of, depending on where you worked in Stone Harbor, Avalon, primarily, you were dealing with an upper class, wealthier type of like clientele coming in. You learned a lot about life quickly that wasn't found here year round. And I think it really did help to, I don't know, it to me feels like it's created a super entrepreneur of sorts down here, because there is a vein of entrepreneurs in our age group that are monsters. And they're the same people that have been working since they were 13 under the table, and then 14 that next year getting that job on paper. So it's really interesting to see the evolution of what Cape May County has had and what it's turning into. And I think you said it so beautifully. Our age needs something that looks visibly quite different from what the older generations need in terms of networking. And I think because we live our lives online so predominantly, we're only looking for in-person interaction, because we not only miss it, but we know that it is essential to closing deals, to getting around the people that we need to be. And you start these things online, but you finish them in person. And you know, in the middle of the winter especially, there aren't too many places to take a client to meet them, or even to get in front of a lot of other business owners. And the same problem that you were having that led you to start this event, very coincidentally, has been something that we have all complained about for years. And you ladies were the two to finally do something about it. So we thank you. Everyone speaks your praises and is just so grateful that you've not only taken it and just done it, but done it to the level that you've done it at. And you've executed it with such a beautiful infusion of the forward thinking and the evolution that we find in the city that we had when we were all working amongst like that crowd. And I think it was very much like rejected down here for a really long time, but it is what all of us need and want. And I would love for you guys to explain what your events are primarily like. I know you kind of had like two different setups, and it sounds like you have a third setup coming up in April that's a little different. But walk us through what your very first event was like and why you kind of purposefully put it together the way that you did.
You go, Tori.
So coming from, the Philadelphia event world, that's where I've been for the past, I don't know, decade and a half, maybe, I guess. They do things on a grand scale for sure. But and we did not have that budget. We're like, how much money can we like pull out of our bank account for this? Like, what can we scrape together? But we knew that we wanted like a more modern space, more interactive, kind of go outside of the typical like restaurant, here's your buffet, here's this. Like, we wanted the vibe to be more exciting because we wanted people to be excited going into it. So even if we didn't have like big activation stations or something like that, we wanted people to feel good going into the space, because that's half the battle, right? Like going into a space that makes you feel invigorated and like maybe a little sexy, like, it makes you feel more professional, more polished, whatever the vibe is. That's what we were looking for. And it actually, we weren't even supposed to be in the station house for that event. We were supposed to be like in the garage, but they wanted to get more exposure for the station house. So they're like, hey, even though you're like 25 people, we're going to move you in here. And we're like, yes, love it. Thank you. So it worked out, in favor for them and for us as well. And a lot of people raved about the place. I mean, their food's great, their service is great, the space is beautiful. But I don't know that we planned it out like exactly what we wanted to do. We had, some vendors because we wanted to give some business owners a platform. So they were some interactive things, huh?
Yeah. And make it
so it's interactive, not just like 3 fun facts. And it's like, we want to get away from that. But the one thing we did want to encourage conversation and stuff like that. So we had table talks, which are just little table tents that we had on the high tops to encourage people to ask questions. We had, what was the other one? A Connect Four thing, right? Where you would,
where you could like walk around and there were like different things on like basically like some type of like a structured networking. I think one of the things that was really important to us, I know to me, I have been to networking events where you feel like you're going alone and like you just go and get your name badge and then you're standing there in a room of people and it's like, okay, now I got to go like just talk to random people. So I wanted to make sure like we genuinely like talked to everyone as they came in, made them feel welcome, so that nobody felt, we don't want anybody to feel uncomfortable. We wanted everybody to feel comfortable enough to like to just go up and talk to anybody. And with that, I think we shared both of our stories and kind of opened it up. And I think that led to, it wasn't just introductions, it was conversation, which like Tori said, that's what we were going for. It's not just like the, hey, here's my business card. It's that actual like connection that you make with people that you hit it off with and that you want to do business with, that you want to be friends with, or that like you may know somebody that could use their services, that type of thing. But like the real connection, not just the surface.
Hey, like, what can you do for me? What can I do for you? It was more, and we talked about this during the event too. Like, there's only so much that you can say in a reel or a post or whatever, and you cannot get the emotion through no matter how much eye contact you make on a video. And people's attention span naturally, like when they're scrolling through things, they're not paying attention. But when you are face to face, you have a captive audience, right? Like there may be some distractions, but so much more comes through when you are interacting face to face. Even with this, right? Like we're face to face for all intents and purposes, but it is, you just get to explain a little bit more. People can feel your emotions, and it's a deeper connection. And those are the things that stick versus here's my business card. Oh, what do you do? What's your title? And like, I also think we as women tend to, and I still do this because Liz calls me out on every event. Like, you don't talk about what you do. And I'm like, ugh, like I don't. And I'm more likely like to be like, oh, guess what this person does and this person. And I'm very hesitant to talk about who I am, what I do, that kind of stuff. And I think it's created a safe space for women to practice those things that maybe we don't do in like other settings, right? Like, so if you do go to a networking event where it is a mix of business people, it's males, females, whatever, this like little container group gives you the confidence to go into those other situations, knowing who you are, practicing that, like, hi, my name is so-and-so, I have this business and this is what I do, or just having those conversations. Like, I think that is what I've gotten the most out of it, even though I do a terrible job at like promoting myself. It has given me a lot of practice with like speaking to people and getting over that awkwardness that we typically have, especially if you don't do networking events often. Like, you can be as comfortable as can be in your own office talking to people, but when you have to go out and expand that network, sometimes it's intimidating,
Very hard.
Yeah.
I know. And I'm like, I feel like I'm more comfortable talking about myself at something that I'm throwing rather than like, because even like I have it like on my calendar for a couple like chamber events that are coming up, and I'm like, how am I going to talk to these people? But I'll stand in front of like a group of 50 women, and it doesn't phase. That's totally fine. But like walking up to that random person at the cricket club next month, like for the chamber mixer, I'm like, ooh, I don't know.
So the cricket club's really cute.
It is.
It's very cute. It'll be worth going to for a little bevy and just like the vibes at the very least. But it's so interesting. I joined the Chamber of Commerce when in Lower Township, and then ran for the committee because I was very headstrong on trying to help the county evolve. And it's been a very humbling experience, to say the least, because the changing of hands is still very tightly gripped. And it led me to, before Co was out there and like kicking butt, there were so many of us that were like, where are the young business owners? We just want to get in front of the young business owners, cut the shit, we like trim the fat. What is it? It's like, oh, you do solar? Oh gosh, my sister-in-law needs someone for solar, but I do accounting, and like, do you need help with your books? Oh no, you're great. Okay, cool. Oh, your brother has a plumbing business and he needs somebody. Here's my card. Thanks so much. Like, it's just so much easier. And there's such a cultural difference in the way our age groups not only do business, but then also how men and women within our age group do business.
Yes, very much.
And I think there's also sort of, not to pigeonhole us, but we are primarily women in this area, finding ourselves in certain genres and industries of business. And they also require a totally different way about going and getting clients, which typically relies on liking, knowing, and trusting who you are for them to feel like they want to engage with you and get that service.
Yes.
And I think something you guys have done so beautifully, and what like got me hooked immediately, were your events with panels of speakers. and seeing the way in which you choose the women that you have participate, what their expertise is. They're from all different backgrounds, but they're talking about one core thing together. And I think the beauty of that for me was the topics that these women were covering were within their speciality, but it was under the guise of, you know, confidence or health and wellness. And then you're seeing these individual speakers give, you know, a bit of their personality throughout this 45-minute talk. You're getting to know who they are as a person, to where at the end of that event, you're like, you know what? I'm going to go up to her. I need to get my blood work drawn. I love how she explained that. And so much so that you're now having a follow-up event with one of those people that were a speaker, because the interest in what she was offering for her new space was so overwhelming within your group that it led to there being a follow-up event in the near spring, which we'll talk about and promote. But where do you think, I mean, you're hearing it from the women directly, like it's coming straight from the horse's mouth. What are women happiest about when they are attending these events and getting to mingle with people that are like them?
I think like the feedback that I have gotten from women is that they're just so happy to be out and to be meeting like-minded people and to be meeting new people and to kind of showcase different things that like nobody talks about. Do you know what, like some of the things that we've showcased in our first two panel events were, the first one we had health and wellness, branding, and finance and real estate investing. And a lot of those things people just don't want to ask the questions about. Like the health and wellness factor, I mean, that's huge. We could talk for like days on how people don't want to ask those questions. But like even branding, I mean, I never thought that I needed like personal branding and marketing. I was like, I can do this myself. And now I'm sitting like almost a year in, and I just signed up with Caitlin David because I'm like, I need branding and I need marketing because I do not know how to do it. And I need to pretend like I'm not an expert in everything. And it just kind of listening to people talk on that platform, it opens your eyes to what really is out there and the value in it. That's kind of the feedback, and wanting to learn more. So we're working in some workshops where people can come and learn and leave with like actionable items and things to build.
I think with that, like that is people want, so everyone sees like all these coaches and a million things that you could buy on Instagram, but like you don't really know the person, right? And they're like, oh, you download my program and you'll like 10x your
like
followers.
$6 million in like 10 days. Like
she's like, is this for real? Do people really make this money per month? And I was like, I don't think it's net. It all goes back into their ad money anyway. But like there's so much BS out there, and like you don't know the person who you're really buying from. Yes, it's great marketing, like great sales and marketing.
Yeah.
And it really hooks you in because your algorithm just feeds it to you all the time too. But like, so I know personally, Caitlin has gained myself, Liz, and actually one of our panel speakers as clients in just this short period of time. And like, I would not have had, she's just really easy to talk to, and she has not sold her services to us. We have just found value in her, like with talking to her, right? So we're like, wow, she's really smart. She does have a lot of great insight. And like, I trust this person. I'm going to move forward with working with her.
She becomes someone that like you want to be a friend. You want her to be your friend.
Right.
And I feel like that's kind of how business is. Like it does need to be about people that like you want to be friends with. Like you want to like you want to deal with them on a regular basis. Cause like, I don't know about you guys, but I was tired of dealing with people on a regular basis that I didn't really want to deal with.
Yeah.
Like so it would be nice to just deal with people that I genuinely enjoy.
Right.
Although that's
and you may not be in need of anyone's services right now, but like you at least know how that person made you felt when they were like having a conversation with you or telling you their story. And you're like, okay, maybe when I'm ready to do like dive into my marketing or my branding, like I'm going to call Caitlin, or when I'm ready to like really focus on my pelvic floor. Like, I'm going to reach out to Betsy. You know, not everyone is in that stage of buying, right? Or making the connection, or like, okay, I'm ready to go. And this is actually the conversation that we have had with Caitlin, Kara, Betsy. Like, they're not expecting immediate results out of it. Like, it's not a marketing campaign. It's putting the information out there so that just it's awareness, it's increasing awareness, right?
Yeah.
And Caitlin in particular, like, we're planning like a social media education day, right? She's like, I'm not going to charge what I would typically charge because I want some exposure, right? And she's like, and I want to help people out. I want them to see the value in what I do. And here's like a little nugget of my services and what I can do for you. And hopefully that turns into something else, right?
Right.
And I think we're getting both ends. Like, people want more. They want to walk away with something concrete, not just the networking things, but they do want that networking option too. To like, I just want to say hi, do things, but there's the people who really want to learn and they want to walk away with something actionable. And so we're kind of in the midst of I don't want to say trying to please everybody, but trying to create things that meet the needs of multiple different people, right? You know what I mean? Like, where they're at in their business. Some people just are getting started and they just want to make contact. Some people are like, no, I want to scale. I want to do this. I want to increase this. And they're ready to take action. Right.
Yeah.
So that's where we're trying to navigate all this, I think, right now.
I'm trying to come up with some different things to do to draw people in, to kind of meet everybody's needs, and also kind of keep it different, because we don't want it to just be the same thing.
Right.
So I think like the workshops where people can leave with things. We want to plan a financial dinner where apparently, I mean, I'm the financial person, but apparently I've been told that finances are boring and you don't want to just sit and talk about them all day. I could sit and talk about Excel spreadsheets all day long. Yeah. But if we serve people dinner, it makes it more digestible, supposedly. So we want to plan like a dinner where we go over finances and budgets and cash flows. And like, these are all things that, I mean, people just don't want to talk about.
Right.
Even on a personal level, not just necessarily a business level, but a personal level. It's like, well, I don't have enough money in the bank to like worry about that. Well, yeah, you still need to worry about it. Like, you still need a plan. Like, you need life insurance. You need all these things. So not that I'm like a salesperson for any of that, but I just like want to see people go in the right direction where like they get the knowledge and then can make the decisions that they want to make, and not just be like my parents who are in their 60s and they're like, we're finally going to put a will together. I'm like, how do you not have a will?
Glad you made it.
Both like really successful professionals in the county. Like, how do you not have a will? They're like, when the kids were young, because there's an age difference between my brother and I, and my brother and sister. And they're like, when the kids were younger, you were just going to take care of everything. I'm like,
we're primed for it.
Yes. Wow. So I think that's been important to like kind of change as we go.
Yeah. It's also one of those things where you have to keep people guessing, because again, it is, your business is a business and your patrons are your clients, and you do have to give them a different client journey occasionally. And I think you guys have done a beautiful job of switching it up within the short period of time that you've been doing it. And I really do enjoy that there just seems to be a really natural and authentic way of just events popping up and coming to you. You have an event in March that's going to be at the Reeds that is a little bit more of a table-based event. Then in April, you're doing something within a doctor's office for one of your previous panel speakers. Tell us a little bit about what it looks like to partner with you if someone within the county or even Atlantic County wants to, work with Code to put together an event for their business. Like, what does that typically look like?
Go ahead, Liz, since you're working on this.
I didn't want to like
No, you're good. This is something new to us too.
So this is something new. So we did the panel event, and in the past, the 2 panel events that we've hosted have each had like 3 to 4 speakers, I think, at each. And we have kind of taken on everything, sold the tickets, comped their tickets, that kind of thing, and just tried to push it and make everything work so that they could come, and we were showcasing them, showcasing ourselves, our own business, because the hope is to drive business to our own two businesses as well. And we had such good, the one person, Kara, had such great feedback. And she just opened in the fall. She's actually doing her grand opening next month, March 14th, at Restore Health by Science in Marmora. And so she's like, people reached out to me and they were like, well, we think you should just do a solo event. She's like, so what would that look like if we did it together? So basically, we're partnered with her. She's kind of handling the financial aspect, and then but we're at it, advertising and doing everything that we would do under the co-umbrella, like we would do for any other event. So we're really excited about that, and we're excited to see how it kind of works out. We're hoping for good success, and based off of what we do there, then we'll have a better structure to put out to other businesses, because we would like to partner with other businesses. We would love to find some sponsorships, because although we love Co and we're going to keep doing it, we're not going to stop. It is not a huge, very profitable business. We're not making any money off of it, because we want to keep the price points low for people. We're not trying to make a fortune off of this business, but it would be nice to just make enough to kind of keep it afloat and keep it going. And I feel like that's probably why people start things and then burn out, because there isn't a lot of money in it, but we're doing it more so for the base of connections that we can build. And because it's good.
We believe in the mission. Yeah, it's the mission of it that, like, and not to say without this, like, oh, businesses would fail, but we're trying to help people get to their end goal faster, right? Through this, however they want to show up, whether it's networking, if they want a table at one of our events, like as a vendor, if they want to speak, like we're basically the platform, right? The hosting platform. So we'll have things that we come up with and we're like, hey, this might be a great idea. But actually the first panel about like the investing and stuff came from Katie Ehrenberg reaching out to us. Like, she showed up for her first event, and she's so amazing, because she's like not super vocal, but she's like, I'm there to support you for like whatever you do. And she's always telling people, she got you to come, right, Sarah? Like to the Bees Knees.
It's amazing.
She's just I'm like so thankful for the core people that have come to like our first couple of just networking events where there was, I was like pissed that there was only 20 some people, but it actually ended up being,
and I thought that was great.
I was so mad. And I'm like,
I looked at it as a positive of like, oh my God, we got 20 people.
But it was, and that was what allowed us to have such better connections, and people felt good, like opening up to one another. And a lot of people like brought a friend. And then it was really great to see people come and actually for the next event, we had only a couple of repeat people, and the next all the rest were new. And I was like, what the heck? People don't want to come back for it. And then I was like, no, they do, because a lot of people are on vacation or something. And then when we had the first speaking event, we noticed people from the first, the first networking event that we had, and then the second. And it was great to see people like come and show up, plus all the new people. But that first panel event came from Katie, and she's like, hey, listen, I want to like talk about this, but even on a professional level, like her hands are tied as a realtor and a broker on what she can and can't talk about or host. So like, if it's something that we could do under us, like
we would love
gives people the opportunity to talk about their craft, we'll do it.
Absolutely.
So and then Kara, the same thing. She reached out to us. So, and I think she has so much to say, and she's working on things where she wants to show people that she's beyond just like testosterone, estrogen, progesterone. She's like not holistic, but like optimal health for your basic systems, like metabolic health and stress. And what's the one she did? Like, what does she do with your brain activity or whatever, right?
Oh,
Like
she does, like, because you
like
don't just do
reaction
blood work.
time?
Like I have switched. I've been seeing like a hormone replacement doctor since 2021. Literally life changing. Anybody out there that's listening, if you are a woman, go see one, like wherever you are. And they usually just do blood work, a ton of blood work. Like I'm talking like 25 vials of blood. But Kara does even more than I know, it's a lot of blood.
A lot of
But
blood.
Kara does more than that. Like once your blood work comes in, you go into the office and she does like the in-body machine, which she calls it motivation. I call it
Humbling.
it tells you like what your muscle mass is, like
Oh boy.
all that like really dives in. But then she does like a neurological study where you sit in the front of a computer and it tests like your reaction time, your memory, all of that. And then it really gives you like a complete packet of you. And then she sits with you for like 2.5, 3 hours and goes over everything with diagrams of how these things affect your cells. And it's, I mean, absolutely wonderful. So
and what she found, like, during those events is she's like, I have so much to say and like not enough time. And it's hard when questions are going in like 4 different directions. So like, if someone wants a full like solo platform, we were all for it.
Yeah. The other thing we're all for is not just like the solo platform like that. We're planning with the social media day. We're working with Caitlin David from Root and Flourish and also hoping to get on a social media expert that like really understands like how Instagram, how everything works, like when you should post, how long your post should be, because that's not something that either of us are experienced in.
And Caitlin too. She's like, that's not my angle.
Yeah.
So
and then so to have those 2 people come, and we're planning it at a private property that Sea Haven is partnered with. So then have a photographer come at the end to take photos for everyone, just like a couple photos, action photos, so that you can leave with photography and knowledge, so you can go and actually do what needs to be done.
Right.
And so that's in the works for, we're hoping March, but it might be like the end of the beginning of April.
I have a social media gal for you. She's local.
Okay. All right.
She's young and she's spicy.
I
don't know her personally, but I love her work, so I'm going to tell you about her.
No, that's what we need. Like,
that's the last piece of it. That and a photographer. We need a photographer.
Yeah,
because we might need 2 photographers.
Like, I think 2, depending on how many people we have. But that's the
7
thing, like,
lady photographers.
Ooh, yeah. Because it's easy to like learn a lot of things, but then when you leave, it's like, well, what do I do with it? So we want them to leave with like material, a plan, and go implement it. And if you don't want to, you have some people that you can refer, that you can be like, hey, listen, I attended this class. I actually just want someone to do this for me because I don't want to do it myself. And now you have access because you've learned from these people. You get to see how they work. You make a connection. You're like, screw this. I don't want to do it. Like, I want you to do it.
Yeah. That's literally the best way to go about it. It's so impressive. Speaking of businesses that everyone gets to share their expertise, Tori, let's start with your event planning business first. I need to know just like your top like small business owner event tips. Like give me 3. Like, what would be your top tips? And then tell me about Brava and how that all came together for you. And then we're going to talk about your business coaching.
I'll start with my background in events. So I have worked with an event company in Philadelphia I actually started there as a busser and a server throughout college. And we had one venue. That was 2003, I guess. 2003. Yeah. So within the short 20 years, they've scaled to, we're now at 10 venues. So it's been a wild ride being involved in that scaling. Actually, when I went back as an event manager, we had 3 venues, and then we have scaled now to 10. So I've been in and out of that process in many different roles. A good chunk in events. I think in my short time doing events, I did over I was involved in over like 400 on managing and directing. So
Ooh.
they're very busy up there. But I am finding that I've hit my ceiling at the company. After having 2 kids, I've really needed to take a step back and be available for my kids. Not had to, but like wanted to as well.
Mhm.
And my learning ceiling is like kind of topped out there. So I wanted to create more space for myself to learn and do things on my own. But also stay like events are what I know. It's what I do and I'm good at it. So I started Brava kind of on the side. Our past president's daughter is getting married. So he's like, hey, do you want to do her wedding? And I'm like, okay, sure. So quick, like did an LLC, threw my website up, and figured out like onboarding questions, stuff like that. So that's where it's come from, but it's actually helped with the events with that I have the knowledge of contract negotiations, how events should flow, things that we need. Like AV has been one of our biggest struggles for the
Yeah.
events. But it's
Down here,
having that
especially.
base knowledge. And, a lot of businesses want to go, this is kind of how it equates over to small businesses. If you don't have that knowledge of what to look for in an event, or what you could possibly bargain for. Like we've worked out a lot of things with the Reeds and even with Mudhen. Like, okay, we're not going to do a deposit. Usually there is a deposit, but like, can we get it smaller? Can we not do it? Can we close out the night of? Like, there's a lot of things that go into different flows for corporate events versus like a wedding. So I can definitely, if anyone's looking for like doing some sort of business event, I am well versed in like wiggle room for things and speaking the
And
language, I guess. Yeah.
you're also like a travel agent booked with, so you can do like corporate retreats, like that
Yes.
type of stuff. You
Yeah.
can find locations, all of that. You have that
Yeah.
like
Right.
as
Yeah.
well as not
What,
just like it doesn't have to be just like a local event here. Like you can
right.
plan
Ooh,
pretty
Yeah.
much
Yeah.
love that.
So I joined Fora Travel about a year ago, which is like the modern travel agency. And they're all like, it's all virtual, but there's so much learning that goes along with it. And actually we're planning a retreat for us, hopefully next
everything.
year, in
Yeah.
Turks and Caicos. And
Yeah.
one of my learning things came up for Turks and Caicos Day, talk about the island and like, the difference of the bay side and ocean side and like where
Mhm.
you should stay and how to navigate the island and customs and stuff like that. So, yeah, I'm a big believer in like getting out of the office and going out to like retreat places where people can fully
Mhm.
decompress and focus on whether it's team building, personal development, wellness, whatever. So yes, that is part of my, the planning portion, and also negotiating contracts for room blocks for events. So if you have a large corporate event or even a wedding, like dealing with the hotels, they don't prefer to work one-on-one with outside, like just individuals. They prefer to work with a planner or someone else, like on a business end. So that's like the event side of things. Did I answer all those
Wow.
questions? Like,
You did.
yeah,
And I think the best tips that you could give is to just hire you, because if you're
yeah,
looking to do a business event
Mhm.
or a wedding of any nature, you just need to get your hands out of the pot and
it
hire an
is.
expert.
Right. And
Yeah.
like you're
Voice
busy
expert.
doing your business, right? Like
Yes,
you
that
don't
part.
have to become, and I always say, like, an event planner is a career for a reason. Like,
Mhm.
yes, anyone could do it, but those number of hours practicing working with vendors, working with people, like communicating with them, how to speak to them, how to negotiate, it takes a lot of time to
Mhm,
get that like under your belt, or how to put
mhm,
together or run a show, things that you don't think can affect your day because
mhm.
you don't do it on a regular basis is actually what's going to trip you up the day of. And just don't stress yourself out more.
No.
Like
Yeah.
hire someone else to worry about the little things and just give you like here's the plan. Here's what I need answers on. Okay, great. I'll get that taken care of. And then here's your day. Like, here's your event. And I could do the running around.
Yeah, because people think that, like, my brother, he got married this past September in Cape May at the Chalfont. Absolutely beautiful. My sister-in-law's mother had just retired. And after the wedding was over, she's like, I feel like I can breathe now, because that has been a full-time job for the past year.
Yep.
Of planning. And they hired somebody, but they hired somebody for day of stuff.
Yeah.
Like that. She's like, it was so much work.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, you should have hired Tori.
And the day of, like, places will have like a venue coordinator, which I have been in both worlds. When I was doing that event management, we took on a lot more than typical venue managers would. Like, a lot of times you're planning and then you're handed over to a banquet captain who's just executing on things, and there's no one there like advocating for you, like, no, we talked about this. And like, you don't want to be pulled aside in your event to do it. You want to be there to do what you need to do, whether it's presentation, mingle, whatever it is. So sometimes it's hard to like communicate the value of it until you've actually done something by yourself versus a planner.
Yeah, in the flames of hell. Yeah, as you're like, why did I do this to myself? This was I would pay anything right now to solve this and not be in charge.
Yeah. Right. Like, and then you're out of it. You're like, oh, I could do that again. And then you're like, no, wait, I don't want to.
Yeah.
Thanks.
It's also I love so much that you are a business owner of two businesses, where once people understand the value, my goodness, are they obsessed with you? Let's talk about your coaching, because I think once someone works with a coach for the first time, they're like, okay, this is the level up. This is how you do it.
Yeah, it is. And I'm finding that even with Caitlin, right? Like, having those conversations that get you out of your own head, and you have a disinterested sounding board, right? There's therapists and then there's coaches. I'm not a therapist at all. But for me, I think in particular too, like, my approach is very operational in terms of like, okay, let's look at the systems you have in place and your goals and your values in both life and your own business. Because if you're a business owner, like, it's easy to have your life not aligned with a company that you work with, right? Like, it'll align this much. But if you're a business owner, and there's no clear line from your life and your business. So it's like, how can I make sure that what I'm doing in my business aligns with who I really want to be? Like, the whole reason you started a business is to get out of having to answer to someone and always be on all the time. But if you're actively running your business and you don't have systems and processes in place, and you don't have people that you can trust and hand things over to, you're just your own employee, which is not what we want to be, right? Like, we want time and we want freedom. And it's hard to go to a spouse or a sibling or a parent and be like, what am I doing? Like, help me with this. And it's like, oh, well, you're doing great. Just keep doing it. And, or maybe you should stop. And it's not, they have your best interests at heart, but they're either going to tell you what you want to hear, or they're not going to be super supportive. Right. And you have to take that personal emotion out of it from people close to you, like influencing you, and just go to someone Cuckery and be like, listen, here's what I'm struggling with. And it's like, okay, are you really struggling with this one component of your business, or is it a little bit deeper? Is it that you're not aligned with this? Like, maybe you need to rethink the whole approach and the whole process, like, altogether. And so that's just, for me, it's really conversational and digging into, what are your goals? What are your what are your values first? What are your goals, personal and professional? How do they all fit together? And then, like, what are the actions that you're taking? Okay, how can we optimize those so that you're not drowning and it's going back and it's aligning with all those values and all those goals? So that's basically my approach with it.
I love that. And I think it's something that I feel like people in the very beginning of starting a business, they don't really pay attention to how their personal life and their personal trajectory is. So your business depends so much on you being okay, at the very least, okay.
Yeah.
But your business thrives when you are personally thriving.
Yeah.
And I think there's a really big gap that I'm so thankful people like you are filling right now in the conversation, because there's always just, I think our age group of 30s and 40s grew up in, the residuals of get a job and work hard for 30 years and you'll have it set out in front of you, paired with hustle, 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 24/7, 9 to 5, 5 to 9. It's like, okay, what about I like crocheting and my husband wants to go like to the arcade, and like, how do I live life right now? And there's a balance. And I'm very thankful that the conversation of balance is not being one where it's like, oh, you're a pussy. It's like, no, I value my cortisol levels. I don't want to have a heart attack.
Exactly.
I need my business to last. I can't show up and be an asshole for my customers because I didn't sleep well last night because I'm dysregulated. Like,
or your team members, like that's the other part is it's easy to do it when it's like just you, but then when you start having to bring people on and you have to communicate everything that's in your head, and then you find yourself getting pissed that people don't know how to do things. Well, how did you train them? Did you put an SOP in place? Like, you can't, you have to step into that leadership role instead of the doer role. Like, you're no longer the worker bee, you're no longer the entire C-suite, right? You hire this person because you trusted them on some level. Now, how do you set them up for success so that you can fully take a step back from that? And that is, those transitions when growing or scaling are what people have a hard time with, because like, you've built it, you've done everything. You have a really hard time letting go of that because you think you still need to control it. And that, I have been through that on so many levels with the scaling of three venues to 10, that the people who have controlled the processes so tightly have a very hard time letting go. And it actually devalues your position as a leader, and it devalues the team member that you have hired, that you look like you don't trust them, and it makes them get annoyed at you. It makes them have a negative view of your business, and it really doesn't help you in the long run. So like, how do you set yourself up for success in those areas?
It's such an integral conversation that I think just needs to be happening. And I really do believe any entrepreneur could benefit from at least one session with checking in with someone that has no connection to you.
Right.
Most of the people in your life are a little too close to make any kind of real suggestions that are going to improve your life. And I think I also love, Liz, that your business is also something that a lot of people will go to those that they love and know around them, thinking like, oh, Uncle Morty, he had a successful career. He'll know what to do. 401k. And it's like, whoa, no, you need an expert. This is not YouTube University here. We need a real expert to guide you down the path. So I am one of those people that know zero about what you do, because I have been a neglectful adult. So let's just jump right on into Plan and Prosper.
Just avoiding the conversations. We're going to have a hard conversation right now.
Oh man, it's going to hurt.
So I'll just, how I started my background. I went to school for civil engineering, I don't want to say hated, didn't want to work in an office. Like, I interned with an engineering firm and I was like, no, I want to be out in the field. Like, I want to see projects come along. So ended up taking a job, North Jersey, fell on my face, wasn't at all qualified for the position that I took. It was horrible. So I moved home and I was like, I don't know what I want to do. Randomly fell in with a local family that had a development project going, gave them my resume, and he hired me. And this is 2005. And I worked with them on that project. We just worked so well together that as time went on, my role grew with them. I became not just like the owner's rep for the development projects, but basically involved in all of their businesses, hotels, restaurants. They had a travel agency, some startups that didn't actually start, some other development projects, just a lot along the way. And I worked for him for over 15 years. I took a little bit of time off when my kids were really young, and then during COVID, that extended a little. But what was great was that I was at the table. Like I was his like right hand for so many years. And you learn so much in business by being in business, and he taught me so much. Like I've been at negotiating tables with like Slovakian real estate investors over like a land deal in Turks and Caicos. Like it's just, there's been like a lot over the years, and I really got into handling all of their personal finances as well, estate planning, not like financial money management, like they had a broker, but being that liaison between all the two, because there's a lot of moving parts in people's finances, in your personal finances, as well as businesses. So I just kind of took a leap, and they were absolutely wonderful to work for, but I felt like I needed to go out on my own and see what I could build for myself. So that's why I started Plan and Prosper. I just saw a need for, on the personal finance side, so many people just I don't want to say don't know what they're doing, but like they don't know what you don't know. And like
we don't know.
I just assume that everybody is like me, and like, oh, well, I have like a monthly cash flow analysis that like ties into an annual budget that then I update my personal financial statement at year end every year. Doesn't everybody do that? No, people do not do that. So that's kind of where I come in and just help people get organized, because a financial broker is going to help you invest your funds. They might like sit with you and do a budget with you like once at their initial meeting, but they're not going to come in and be like, and like help you go through like, what are my bills? Like, let's work out a budget. Let's work out a plan to take me to where I want to be with savings. I'm working with my grandmother. My grandfather passed away over the summer, and he handled everything. And there's a lot of people in her position that she's like, I don't know what to do. And she has me and my mother. My mother's a CPA. So it's like, we just did it. But she's like, I have so many friends at church that don't have this. And I was like, I know, because it's like a needed field, but nobody really wants to get into it. And nobody wants to, but people also don't want to talk about it. They don't want to talk about they don't want to talk about money, especially older people don't want to talk about money.
No.
So
Well,
like
with that too, with older people, it's usually it gets handed off to some kid, right? Who may be equally as disastrous at
it's like,
managing
you gave me these
finances.
generational financial curses. I don't know shit.
Yeah.
What do you want me to do?
Taking advantage of their parents. And you may not, you know what I mean? Like, oh, I'm just going to write a check for this, but like, okay, mom, can you sign this? Oh, all right, sure. What's it for?
Yeah.
And it's not, again, like a disinterested party where you're looking at the whole financial, like big picture. Like, okay, where are you losing money? Like, you're on a fixed income. Let's look at this. But I think also, Liz, with business, with who you work for too, it's you being that liaison between the planner, allow them to do their business and focus on the things that they needed to, right? So you helped relieve that stressor off of them, because like you said, it's constantly staying in contact. Like, where's our money? Like, what's the investing look like? And if you don't have a pulse on that, then it's easy to get derailed, right?
It is. And like on a business side, because I also do work with businesses, it's the same thing. It's there's a lot of, which I'm learning, like as you grow in business, you need certain structures financially. And you need to make sure that like, as you're growing, you're structuring your companies correctly. It's all kind of a game. And a lot of it is a tax game. A lot of it, making sure your liability is there, making sure you have the correct insurances, like doing the budgets annually, tying them in, making sure you're showing profits where you should, and like to maximize your tax advantage. And there's like that is something that, and not your accountants aren't necessarily gonna do that for you. They're going to take what you give them, because accountants are great. And like, you can hire accountants that do tax planning. Absolutely. But like, a lot of them they're taking what you give them from your QuickBooks. And if your QuickBooks aren't organized, then it can just be, there's a lot there. And I've done a lot over my career as far as like big picture oversight, handling the annual budgets, handling condo associations. I dealt with the accountants on like quarterly basis. So like that, all that knowledge is what I'm taking into Plan and Prosper for both businesses and personal individuals, to kind of help everybody along the way.
And with Co, because without you, we've been totally lost. I mean, like, yeah, it looks good. I'm like, this is not my wheelhouse at all. Like, I can read forecasting things, and like, when the numbers are red or something's highlighted, it's not good. But like, getting to that point and knowing the questions to ask is hard. And like, how should your cash flow, what should that look like for your business, right? And like, how much for your budget, like what's the allocation to each department or each, like for I know, like, just dealing with the event thing, like, okay, a portion goes to staffing, a portion goes to food and beverage, a portion goes to marketing, whatever. Like, not everyone knows how it should kind of be allocated, right, within a business.
Right. And there's industry standards for different industries, but plus we're in such a seasonal industry that, like, say you're in a restaurant or in a hotel, you need to look at your payroll numbers every single week, and you need to be like really analyzing them, because essentially you have a 10-week season. The shoulder seasons don't mean much. Like, it's like 10 weeks is where you're making your money, and payroll is your biggest chunk. So like, if you're not managing that properly, and you can't manage that properly if you don't have the tools in place to look at the numbers. Because if you're waiting until the end of the month when the accountants have come to do the financial statement, you're too late. You're like 6 weeks past. So like, learning how to look at like, all right, well, what's my housekeeping? What's my cost per occupied room? Like, where are we? Where can we cut? Like, end of year. All right, we are a seasonal business. We're going to have carry in the winter. So we need to do the projections that we make sure that we stay afloat and don't distribute too much. So there's a lot that goes in that I think a lot of people it's like, oh, I want to own a restaurant. And that's wonderful. And like, those people, we need those people, because I'm not one of those people. I don't have the passion to cook. Ask my children. I do not cook. Ask Tori.
And they don't know how to run a book.
Nuggets again tonight, guys. Sweet. So like, we need those people, but then there needs to be that piece where it's like, okay, someone help me come in and do the financial end, so that you can do what you do best, and make us all wonderful food and make us happy, or like have the beautiful property that we want to go on vacation on and stay at, but need someone in the background to work on those reports and make sure everything stays afloat, and make sure it is viable. And if it's not, to find other avenues within the business to make it viable.
Right. Well, that's what I was going to say. Like, you're giving them the base of like what their marketing plan basically needs to be, right? Like, okay, if I'm projected to not have this type of income, where are pockets of like, how can I structure my business to maybe have like a burst of income? Like, is it a holiday special, like something like that? Or when do I need to lay off my staff? Or how long can I carry them? And what does laying off or paying, whatchamacallit, like unemployment look like for me? And that's a big thing, people, you don't want to just wing that, right? Like, you don't want to carry more expenses than you need to.
Yes.
Or you don't want to be unprepared for a lack of cash flow, right?
Right. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I do think, go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say, and then like, my background in development too lends a lot to like the construction and development industry, because I've been involved so much, and having those type of clients that are in development, it's easier for me than like someone who isn't involved, who has never been involved in that, to kind of look at their QuickBooks and be like, oh, okay, like this is where this goes. Like, that's how you should code that. Like, I know what that is. Like, did you think about this when you were creating a budget? And they're like, oh no, we forgot that line item, like stuff like on that avenue. So it's been a whirlwind of an education for me out in the field, but it's been great. And I wanted to do something that like to help people in a greater sense. I think Tori and I have both reached a point, and correct me if I'm wrong, where like we are in business obviously to make money and support our families and live out our dreams and goals, but we don't want to just be in business to make money. We want to do things that are impactful and like good for our community. Like, this is a community that we grew up in and we're raising kids in, and that's what we want to see it thrive. And
and succeed. We've talked about this before. I think we both had like a venting session where like like the corporate structure is just not made for women. It's actually not even made for men anymore. It's because people share, it's a shared workload for households, both childcare and working and stuff like that. And, more so than the future or the past, but like, it's particularly difficult for women because I will say, like, I think I still take on a load, a bigger load of the housework or the childcare and stuff like that. My husband is great, but like his schedule doesn't always lend to it because he works some like a modified shift work. So he is not around all the time to go to sports or, go food shopping, do all that stuff. And we make it work, and we luckily like we have a good relationship and stuff. But like, and I have a lot of flexibility in my schedule that it doesn't faze me. But like we have this whole conversation the one day how, women are basically set up for failure in the regular corporate structure. Like you have to, everyone's heard it. You have to give 100% at home and 100% at work. And if you take one from the other, like you're not dedicated to work or you're not a good parent. But like if a guy leaves early to go home to his family, he's a great dad. If a mom leaves early, she's not a dedicated employee. Like it's such a
prioritizing work
double standard. And we want to like encourage women to like create a business that or find a job that allows you to be who you want to be. Like, again, align with your values. Like you don't have to conform to everything because that's what the big corporations want you to do because they want your money. They want you to not be home or to not have the flexibility. And we're just kind of at the point where we're not playing by those rules anymore.
And going along with what you were saying earlier, Sarah, about like, where was I going with that? Just like on the tip of my tongue. I hate that.
It'll come back.
It'll come back. It'll come back.
But yeah, we're just
talk again because
sorry.
It was really good.
It was just we're trying to practice what we preach, right? Like creating a life and systems and stuff that really
thinking outside the box. Sorry, it came back to me. Sorry.
I know it come back. Just like over here yammering.
How like you don't like following that hustle, like work 9 to 5, hustle. And like, that's what we were instilled with. Like you graduate high school, you go to college, you go work for a company, like you do this. That is like, I think what both of us are like, you don't need to do that. No. You don't need to go to college. You don't need to follow somebody else. Think outside the box, make it on your own. Not necessarily like go out and like start your own business, but just like you don't have to, it's not like you have to grow up to be like an engineer, a lawyer, and like
we're both very anti-college for our kids right now.
Which is good. We both went to college. Like I have a master's degree and I'm just like, I'm not saving for college. I don't need to go to college. The next wave is tradesmen. I mean, this is a whole other like spiel about like the education system. And
but parents,
I can get on my soapbox for days about this.
No,
but I think education, like learning is important, but the traditional sense, like let's think outside the box. And that's what I think we want to show like younger women, the next generation.
Liz and I
You
have a
can
lot
do
of
things.
restructuring plans
Yes.
in our brains.
Needed.
Healthcare, secondary
Yes. We want to take
education.
on everything.
It's
We
needed.
actually had the conversation. We're like, how do we effectuate change
Yeah.
in the healthcare system on a federal level?
Yeah.
And I asked my mom that question after Tori and I had the conversation. She's like, you don't. I'm like, that's not the answer.
No, because that's what I said to Liz one day. I was like, so I think we should create like an insurance health insurance company. And she's like, yeah, no. And I'm like, no, but just hear me out. Like,
In
one
theory.
that aligns with like alternative care, like for even though chiropractors and like acupuncturists are covered under typical like health insurance now, but I'm like, for naturopaths or functional medicine or like what Cara does, and like but and as the conversation comes up more, we're finding like people want like they want access to this other stuff, and they don't want to pay out of pocket, but like
Right.
the people who are offering it, they deserve to get paid right away, and they won't get paid through traditional insurance companies. So we're like we're on a mission to create
burn
that
healthcare, burn
is, and then we'll turn around and sell it to some venture
I wish you
capitalist.
well. I hope a billionaire hears this and he's like, ladies, let's go. Or ladies, let's go.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah.
It doesn't need to be a male billionaire. That was very sexist of me.
We will take backers in anything.
Yes.
I mean, anybody out there with lots of money that's
we have
listening,
lots.
we have so many ideas.
So many ideas.
You do. You really do. And I think that's also what I loved about both of you from the gate. I could tell you were full of like power and purpose and just like drive. And I'm addicted to that energy. And it's so needed down here. And you are effectuating change in a way that I think is very overlooked. And I think it's the pure beauty of small towns. And it's that it starts with one person. And that trickle effect has been really apparent for you guys, just starting off with that handful of 20 women and what it's turned into. And I think there's a lot of power and beauty in small towns, and especially in people returning to their small towns after they went to the big city to learn what they had to learn. Because there is a big old wide world out there, but I think as you age, you begin to learn that change is most impactful when it is microscopic. And you do that in your hometown where you live, with the people and the businesses you interact with every day. And you ladies are doing exactly that. And you've just gotten started. So I can't wait to see where this goes. But everyone, check the show notes. There's going to be a ton of links. You have an upcoming event, March 6th.
March 6th, at the Reeds.
And there'll be another event in April that will be with Cara that you can stay tuned for, and it'll be all over their socials. Their socials will also be included in the show notes. And ladies, I have one final question that I ask all of my guests, and it's this. Tori and Liz, how do you make your life rich?
Do you want to go first, Liz?
How do I make my life rich? I think I make my life rich by surrounding myself with like my kids, my dogs, my family. I go to Sunday night dinner at my parents' with my grandmother and my aunt and my brother and his wife, and every week. And I don't know, having that connection, I think, is what makes my life rich. Things change over time. And when I was younger, it was like, oh my gosh, I want to be this, and like the status and all that. Now I'm just like, that's not what really matters. This is what really matters.
I
agree. Yeah, I'm the same. And I mean, I love being with my kids and husband every night, but in particular, like going on vacations and stuff where we can really step away and not be distracted by like the everyday things. Like for us, it's those experiences that we get to have together that I think are also more impactful for my kids, like to see like, oh yeah, I want to be able to like pick up like, oh, a snowstorm hit, we're going to go skiing this weekend. Or, like growing up for us, it was always like, all right, we're going to plan this one big vacation and it's going to be stressful and stuff. Like I eventually don't want to get that for my kids. I want to be able to like pick up and go and like do something. But I think the other thing is for me, like the making life rich is getting to dream with other people who think a little bit bigger. So Liz, and all the women who are like around, but like even my husband, he's actually a big dreamer like me. And sometimes we have a hard time keeping each other like in check, like, wait a second, that's not a reality. But I think that's the only way that you continue to like expand your life, is dreaming and thinking big and trying things and maybe failing, but hopefully succeeding. So I think it's just experiences in life is really what drives me and makes me feel whole. Not wasting life.
Amen. Ladies, you're a treasure. Your friendship has brought so much to where we all live, and we are very thankful for it. So shout out to preschool.
Yes.
Taking it all the way back.
And Italian restaurants.
And it was waitressing in the summers. That was rough. And here we are. It's been such a beautiful conversation, ladies. Thank you so much.
Glad we got to have this.
Yay. Yeah, so excited. And guys, if you're interested in partnering with these ladies in any regard, please reach out to them. The more the merrier, because I can't wait to see who and what is next.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
So
Thank you.